So I just want to thank you all so much for being here today. We have Dr. Ireland and Natalie Novosel joining us, and our Girl Scout cadets who are hosting the interview are Haley and Olivia. So thank you all so much for being here. We are recording this webinar, so if you have a friend that wasn't able to make it this afternoon, or if you would just like to rewatch it, we'll be posting it on our council Facebook page on Friday. So Olivia and Haley, I'm going to go ahead and give you all the floor, and you all can start asking your interview questions.
Okay, so can you tell us about yourself and your background?
Awesome.
Go, Natalie, go.
Okay, Dr. Ireland, great to see you as well, always. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Haley. Just a little bit about me. I grew up in Lexington, Kentucky here as well, and went to Lexington Catholic High School and was playing basketball my entire life, along with a few other sports as well. But I just loved basketball a lot, and fortunate enough, loved it so much that I was able to continue on into college playing basketball at the University of Notre Dame up in Indiana. And from there, I was fortunate enough to go on and play basketball in Washington, D.C., as well as overseas in Europe and Australia, and just loved pretty much every part of it. And so I loved doing that overseas and playing basketball. And as luck would have it, ended up just for me, ended up hurting myself, my knees a little bit. And so from there, it's been about 3 years of rehab here and there. And since then, I have since retired and have moved into a more of a role helping my family and helping people educate themselves financially. So that's a little bit what I'm doing these days. What about you, Dr. Ireland?
So my name's Mary Lloyd Ireland, and I grew up in Lexington as well. And I just really loved being outside all the time. My poor mother couldn't get me in to eat until the sun went down. And so from that, I decided, not really decided, but I just so loved being active that I wanted to do every sport possible. And I was fortunate enough to be a pretty good swimmer, and I swam summers, and I begged my parents to let me start swimming. So I swam year round, and I went to Sayre High School and played field hockey, which is a great sport for females. It's almost as aggressive as women's basketball, and played ran track and played basketball. And fortunately, unlike Natalie, I still have 2 ACLs because I quit playing basketball and I kept on swimming. So I was able to keep on swimming into college, which was really cool because I'm a lot older than Natalie, and Title IX is something that you Girl Scouts have probably heard about, but they didn't encourage women to continue or girls to continue in sports even when they're in college. So I was fortunate enough to swim at Memphis State. And I tried out for the Olympics a couple of times. I didn't make it, but I was a pretty good student. So I decided to go into medicine and help people. And I understood, knowing how important competition was for me, that you want to get kids back to doing what they want to do. And now I'm an orthopedic surgeon, and I've enjoyed giving back and getting people back on the field and being active.
When did you start playing sports, and what inspired you to do so? Did you have to give anything up to play?
You want to take it first, Dr. Ireland?
I think just from playing in the backyard, I just really loved. I had some friends in our neighborhood who were boys, and I really liked running faster than they could, and I liked competing, and so that kind of planted the seed that I wanted to be active with sports. And so swimming was the one I was best at, but I just enjoyed doing everything. And so I think it was more just of kind of having friendly competition with neighbors that I really wanted to do sports.
Yeah, to be honest, honestly, that's exactly the similar childhood that I had as well. It was always just, and even I had an older sister and brother who would be out in the backyard, and my dad had played sports growing up as well, and they'd always be out there playing. And obviously I would be out there with them. And then I think it was just the competition, just I wanted to beat my brother and sister, and I failed all the time because I was a little bit smaller than them, and I think it was just one of those where I wanted to get better. And no matter what it was, we neighborhood kids out, capture the flag, tag everything that we'd come up to play with, to make the summer's days go by, right, when our parents would stuff us outside. And so I think from there, it's really just where it started, that I just genuinely enjoyed competing against no matter what it was. And so for me, I played, as well as Dr. Ireland, a few different sports: swimming, soccer, and gymnastics, but I really just enjoyed practicing on basketball. And I think that's really what made me want to get better with it, is because I enjoyed actually practicing outside of just playing games and things like that.
What is your favorite aspect of being a female athlete?
That's a good question.
You guys came up with some great questions, because I had trouble with a lot of these. It made me really think. But I think for me, it's knowing that I can succeed and I don't feel bad about being faster or making better grades than somebody else, whether they're males or females. And I think it just allowed me to understand that, I can do whatever I want to do. And if you work hard, if you practice hard, if you study, then you can get organized and do what you want to do. And that's what really athletics helped lay the path work, or the groundwork, that I could do things. And I became more organized to get chores finished or my homework finished when I was practicing and being an athlete.
Yeah, no doubt. To kind of piece on along that as well, I really enjoy, I think because with men having a leg up in majority of sports, there's always been an underlying women pushing boundaries. And so I really love that with every new boundary that is pushed for women, there's just another a whole slew of other women coming right behind them. And so I really love being a female athlete, to be able to continue to help continue pave the way for others, that so many others, as Dr. Ireland has paved the way for me to be successful and have had a successful career as well.
And this is where a lot of times actions speak louder than words. You can, say you're really good, but if you go out and compete and win, and I think there is something about, the Girl Scouts have awards. Well, you earn awards, or, in a race, somebody's going to finish first. That's not all the time with grades, but it's similar to that. You want to succeed, and you also have to set the bar high enough, because if you don't think you can, you really have to set it higher than you really think you can. I tried out for the Olympics a couple of times, and I was happy to get to the trials, but I didn't really think I could make the team. So you just have to set that bar higher than you think you can do, and strive higher. That means you got to work harder. You got to, do what your parents tell you to do, but you just set that bar high enough, and girls can do it.
Absolutely.
What is or was your favorite food to eat the night before?
Go ahead, Natalie.
I think, honestly, I don't entirely remember. I think it was typically some sort of combination of a meat and like maybe, or like chicken and peppers. But I do always remember eating a sweet potato, and I would probably put like marshmallows and brown sugar on mine back then, but I probably still do. But that was probably my go-to. I love sweet potatoes.
And when I was competing, we weren't as aware of what you should be fueling your body with, and when you should be eating, and when your stomach needs to be less full. So, I just kind of eat everything. It was spaghetti loading and things like that. We would just mainly, drink some type of a sugar drink or orange juice, or it used to be Tang and things like that. But I don't think we were as savvy as you guys are now to really understand what your body needs and how to fuel your body for competition.
What are 3 reasons you like being a part of a team?
You're the team woman, Natalie. Go ahead.
You know what? Oh gosh, I could answer this for a long time, but I think like elemental level, you've got like a built-in support system in friendship. And you're just genuinely become a family together, because you're going through so much together, whether it be, your 6 a.m. workouts to late nights trying to get home from a game on an airplane and the airplane breaks down, you know what I mean? And so they become your family. And at the end of the day, you don't let your family down, and you don't let your family fail. And so no matter what happens, like, you've just got built-in people and support systems for life, honestly, in those friendships, because what you've just gone through. And whenever you're going to a new place or something, and you have people that are already people in your life that are going to be in your life no matter what, right? Whether you like them or not. And then that carries over on the court, or in whatever arena you're playing in, but essentially in the court, for me, right? And so, and then on top of that, I would say the two other things would be just you have a common goal together, and you'll do a lot more for other people than you will for yourself, I learned. And so when you have a common goal together, you just ended up doing a lot more outside of yourself, and you get outside of yourself just so focused on what you're trying to do, and focusing on what the team's trying to do. And I think that was really kind of the main thing that I loved about being a part of a team sport. And then lastly is the culture. You've got to, like, teams are so funny, and especially playing professionally, I had teams where I remember being like such a fun culture, and other teams, like one or two bad apples just ruin the culture, right? And so I've been ironically, we had the teams that had good culture where we were better teams, right, than the teams that had bad culture. But you've got a bunch of different people all coming together, and there's bound to be a lot of fun, right? I just remember, pranking people, dancing, a lot of different music, right? It's just comedy, honestly. And so I really loved that aspect of it, is you can really make it a lot of fun and have a lot of fun with a lot of people.
So swimming, which was my main sport, is more of an individual sport, but you have a relay, right? So you got 4 people. You don't want to let anybody down. So I think it's really a team sport. I mean, you guys may not realize it, but some of the friendships that you have now in Girl Scouts, you'll probably be 50 years later and they'll be your best friends and they'll be your girlfriends. So I think getting to know teams and your teammates, and you're not going to let anybody down. So I think it raises you up to do better and to be a better person, and hopefully to win with them. But if there's something bad that happens, you're there for them too. And I think that being on a team, people know that, and they know the go-to people. It might not be everybody on the team, but they know the people that they can trust and ask things. And I think that's where it's really important for us, whether it's female issues we have, or if you have something in your Girl Scouts where you think somebody's, not healthy or not doing the right thing, then the team should talk to them. So I think it's something that we as a team, you just develop that, and it's just, and you're a better person for being a member of the team.
Absolutely.
What are the ways you implemented self-care?
Go ahead, Dr. Arlen.
Yeah, so self-care, it's an interesting concept. Self-care to me means what makes me happy, what makes me feel good. I'm not a paint your toenail person, so that's not what I would do, but you want to get out and do something, whether it makes you think you look better. I'd rather go out and hike and find birds and take pictures. So I think self-care is whatever you need to make you be the best person at that moment or on that day. And it's really hard sometimes because certainly, we don't prioritize ourselves sometimes. And I think if we could get that 5 minutes of self-care of what you really want to do before you end up doing your day. So when I have a lot of time is early in the morning, and that's when I feel like I'm very productive. I can get things done work-wise, emails, communications, but that's a time when I want to go out and maybe meditate, mindfulness, walk, do something. So you got to take care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't effectively take care of others. And I think that's something that has come more and more important and to the forefront. And I think you young girls know that, and I didn't know that, but I think if you take care of yourself, you can certainly be more effective in whatever you're doing.
Yeah, great point, Dr. Arlen. And I would say too, I think it's become more mainstream as well, the concept of self-care. So I do think it is whatever genuinely you find that brings you some sort of peace in a world full of distractions and running around and trying to get from timetables, one thing to schedules and stuff like that. And so I think that's just finding some time to just whatever you need to do to create some peace in your life. For me, sometimes it's alone time, right? Sometimes it's being recharged by best friends time. Working out is always something that just helps me work through anything and everything. Showering, a long shower sometimes, I think in there a lot, 20 minutes will go by. But, and then at the end of the day, I would say trying to get a good night's sleep is always something that I strive for, who's a lifelong struggler of sleeping. So when I can get a good night's sleep, that would be something that I try and do self-care.
And sleep is so important with self-care. Sometimes people say, why do you sleep so much? Well, we sleep a third of our lives and we really need good quality sleep. So don't be embarrassed to tell somebody how long you sleep. And different times in your lives, you have to sleep more or sleep less. So, but do what makes you the most effective person.
Absolutely.
Where will we find you on a Saturday morning at 10 a.m.?
Well, when I was a child, I would love to watch Fury. That was a horse series that I would never miss, except for one time because I had to go to the hospital because I was sick. But now it's a lot different. On a Saturday, if I'm not working, I'll probably be hiking or doing something outside. I'm not a big go to drink coffee, so it's usually more an activity that I would like to do. If I am working, I'm seeing injured athletes in a walk-in clinic who maybe got hurt the night before and things like that. So.
Yeah, great point. I think my Saturday mornings when I was younger as well, just be outside at some point, meeting your friends and doing some activities and starting the day off. But for now, I would, it's a little bit different. I know exactly where I am we have a 10 a.m. Team training every Saturday. So that's where I'm doing, but we call it Separation Saturday for a reason, is because most people, only work Monday to Friday. And so it's a good way to just get some quality time with your people, and then get some good training in to start your Saturday and your weekend off well. So I actually really enjoy it. Good question.
What does leadership mean to you, and what is your leadership style?
Gosh. Well, I would say for me, so many levels of leadership, but it's so important in so many things. And the more I've gone through life, the more I've come into my own leadership, but as well as understanding that leadership, when I've been on good teams and great teams, there's different levels of leadership. I think it comes down to different layers. And one thing I've learned is just like, you can lead yourself, and then the second layer is leading others, and then you can lead leaders after that. And I think for me personally, where I'm at now and what I've learned is, if you can lead yourself an elemental level, like a lot of people maybe don't even ever get past that. But what I mean by that is just, are you gonna, even when I was a kid, or when a lot of my friends, they want to go to the movies, they want to go to the mall, like, did I get my, my shots up that day or something like that? And so that's kind of like being able to lead yourself a little bit. And then the way, if you're able to kind of do that, then after that, I would say I was able to kind of impact people around me in leading others and things like that. And then when I got to college, because I was already a little bit of a leader in my own right, when all of us kind of came together, that was really kind of where it made it special. And so for me, my leadership style morphed. It was lead by example. Initially, I didn't have a very strong voice when I was a kid. I was talked over a bunch. My family was very domineering, right? And so I just didn't have a voice. So that's why I was such a good leader by example and such a hard worker, because I was like, okay, I'll find another way to have an impact, right? But then, when I got to college, I remember my coach telling me, you like, in order to have more of an impact, you have to talk and be more vocal on the court, or you're letting your teammates down, actually, right? And you're actually being a little bit more selfish. So that was really confronting for me. And so I worked really, really hard on that. Now it's more of a kind of combination of all of them. But so it's definitely morphing, but leadership is super important.
So I guess we kind of think of our leaders as being our coaches or your teachers, your principals. But Coach Krzyzewski at Duke always gets his players involved in, coaching. So I think you kind of have ways that your coaches can make you be a junior coach or bring you up to know that your word is important or your opinion is important. So I think being a leader is a lot about listening. And if you look at the military, and there are a lot of books you can read, but if you look at the military, a lot of quotes are that, leaders eat last. And I think a lot of it is about listening and just knowing how you can best lead. And it's interesting because I never really think of myself as a leader. And like Natalie said, it's actions speak louder than words. So I haven't been that vocal about it, but it's amazing how many people's lives you impact just by being you and being more of a mentor. But we are leaders. And I think that we have to represent ourselves because we've been successful and probably be more vocal. Sometime, not to keep talking about boys and girls or men and women, but sometimes the guys speak more, and we just might be like the wise old owl sat in the tree. The more he heard, the less he said, the more he knew. The wise old owl was a wise old bird. So I think we have to, be the wise old owl and speak and hoot our word out.
Absolutely.
What qualities make a good teammate? Make a teammate a good team captain?
What do you got, Dr. Ireland?
I think they have to be able to motivate you and uplift you and be a better player. Sometimes there's one captain, more captains, but again, I think it's kind of like a leader. Somehow they need to instill in you where you're better, whether it's performing an athletic event or even doing better in school. So I think they just have to somehow inspire you to be better than you think you are.
Yeah, great point. I think for me, even some of the best team captains I've had as well, they're do it first leaders. They lead by example. They're never going to ask me to do something that they're not doing themselves. I think so. That's something you can always, a quality you can always have. They've always had good energy, just good. They're not complaining all the time, right? People want to be around them. And I would say, to the point that Dr. Ireland made last about listening, they're good communicators. They listen really well. They're open to feedback and trying to better themselves. And I think that's something that I always would qualify as a good captain, is somebody who just wants to continue to improve.
And they have to be genuine when they're listening, not just listening for listening's sake, and kind of figure out what the person needs. And I think that's something that you have to work at sometimes. Some people get it better than others, but just to listen, and maybe somebody needs more of a pat on the back or or pass to not do that next wind sprint or whatever.
Is there a particular leader you look up to, and why?
Take it, Natalie.
Oh, well, gosh, I've been really fortunate enough to have some really good leaders in my life. And as Dr. Ireland said, some coaches, honestly. But I think I'd be having a missed opportunity to talk about Dr. Ireland really quickly as somebody who's such a good leader, and somebody who has just been a pioneer in overall just continuing to improve to greatness at every level of your life. And so I'm super fortunate to have been impacted not only by you, like for my career as well, but also just as a friend and mentor in my life. And then for sure for you, Dr. Ireland, as well. And then secondly, I would say my coach in college, just a Hall of Fame coach, Muffet McGraw, the name like that, Muffet McGraw, and so I always would classify her, like people ask, like, what was it like to play for her? And I just remember always wanting to like never disappoint her, like the type of coach that makes you want to run through a wall for her. She wouldn't have to say a lot for you to know, like, if you did something wrong or something, you just already knew. And so like you would try and do something 10 times better to obviously make up for it or something like that. But I just remember that a quality of a great leader in her is just always pushing me, but she always cared about you more than basketball, which is definitely, I would say, a quality of a great leader as well.
Yeah, I agree. The coaches were very instrumental in my life, just because, athletics was so important, and they just instilled again for you to do better. I'm not going to get any of the political leaders, but, somebody like Oprah Winfrey or Ellen DeGeneres. I mean, you just kind of look up to these people that make you feel good. Billie Jean King is somebody that beat Bobby Riggs in tennis many years ago and set the stage for female athletes to have respect and to know that we can perform well. Natalie, and I applaud her efforts of coming back as an injured athlete, and also her talents to become a professional basketball athlete. I mean, women can be professional athletes, not in every sport, but that's again a goal that you got to have to figure out. Do you want to be a scholar? Do you want to be an athlete? Do you want to be both? And you can do what you want to do. So I think finding those. It might be teachers in your age group, and some of those people that influence you in high school. It's good to visit with them, and some of your high school friends may be your best friends ever.
How does being an athlete inspire you to do good?
Take it, Natalie.
All right. Oh gosh, I think it's athletics is just, it's so much more than the sport, but it's everything that you go through. Actually doing the sport is what makes it so much more than just a game, right? And the sport's the foundation, but all the skills and lessons and failed attempts and victories that you learn throughout the sport can really propel you to whatever you kind of want to do after life. And so it inspires you because you're pushing for something outside of yourself for the majority of the time, but you have to get better in order for you to get to where you want to go. And so it can serve as a platform. And a lot of our athletes nowadays, you can see them, they do have a platform with social media, and they are utilizing it for good. And so I think anybody who becomes an athlete can use it, whether they're the best, right, in their sport, or they're someone who isn't the best. They can still utilize that platform and everything that they've learned to do good, and that good news, good movement, I would say, for sure.
Yeah, to do good, that's there's so many ways you do good, but I think in being an athlete, you learn how to respect others. If somebody gets hurt, you extend your hand and try to get them up off the floor and help them. And I think you just end up, your parents rear you to do the right thing, but I think athletics teach you to be humble and kind. And there are going to be times that maybe you don't perform as well, but you accept that and you congratulate that person that beat you, even though you're upset that you got beaten, and maybe you'll do better another time. So I think it teaches you how to act and react to life and to other people. And so I think that's a very important life skill, to be able to know how to react to whether you fail or whether you win. So if you win, you don't jump up and down and be an idiot. You go and shake the hand of the person you just beat, if it's an individual sport. So I think it creates a way that we can understand how to do good for the rest of our lives. And, I've always my mother was a volunteer coordinator. And so I understand about philanthropy, which means giving back, whether it's money or time or whatever. So I think it's good to do good in your life and give back. And some of the things that we're doing, and Natalie's on our board, is the Active Women's Health Initiative. So we want to do something through the University of Kentucky College of Health Science to give back and make you girls, get your parents, your aunts, your uncles, anybody out exercising and do good things to stay active.
Absolutely.
How important is it to have a mentor to grow as a leader? What are some steps to build that type of relationship?
Yeah, I think I wish, and I keep saying this, that I wish I was a better mentor. I think I kind of am, but the person who wants to be mentored, the mentee, like you have to come to the mentor. In other words, you have to have a relationship of, because we're kind of there, but if you have questions or if you think somebody can help, and there are a lot of organizations that pair you up based on what you may want to go into, or what your school weaknesses or successes are. So I think it's kind of a two-way street where and I hope we can be better mentors to you all in some way, whether it's in person, hopefully, or Zoom or whatever. So I think it's a two-way street where if you have questions, if you have some type of a panel or somebody who is on a mentor list, then you got to find us too. So I'm always happy to try to help young people do what they want to do and inspire them to know that they can do that.
Yeah, great points. I was going to say that as well, Dr. Ireland, is to ask. Some people just don't necessarily know you're wanting some sort of mentorship or seeking advice or anything, or you're dealing with a problem. And so always asking has been definitely, I just remember, I'll say a story really quickly. My first 2 years of college, like I remember playing poorly some game, like in a game, if I played poorly, there's a really quick way to get to the locker room. It's past all the coach's office. Or so if I played poorly, I would walk all the way around the entire arena to get to the locker room. Because I didn't want to, I was like, oh gosh, disappointed them, and I didn't want to talk to them after the game. But as my 2 years, my junior and senior year, I would walk directly by them every time. I'd say hello, right? And it just got to a lot more of our relationship and communication got to such a better spot. And obviously, and now it's continued that way. So I would say, I always the phrase of like seek the heat. So finding a mentor and then asking them questions, but then I would say like it's an investment of their time as well. So come with questions or and actually do what they say. I think sometimes when they either give advice or something and you actually go and do it, or rather than coming back to them with the same issue with no progress made forward. And so I think that's definitely something they just want to show that their time's being well spent and things like that. So when you're in terms of building that relationship with your mentor.
What tricks have you discovered to keep your focus and productive in your day-to-day busy schedule?
I think being an athlete early on made me know when I had to study, when I had to get things done. And I actually did better when I was in the competitive season. In other words, because I practiced for a couple hours in swimming, and then I knew I had to get my homework done and get everything done. And sometime when I wasn't practicing, I didn't have that schedule. So I think just having a schedule, you have to do. And I think you have to set specific goals for yourself each day, because you can't get it all done and just try to have a checklist of what things you really need to get done that day.
Kind of just to piggyback on what Dr. Ireland said, is there's so much sometimes that you think you have to get done as an athlete going throughout the day, and just to kind of prioritize what really, really is important and has to be done. And I would say make sure that kind of you set those in motion first. And then I would say also for me, it's honestly, it was just setting aside times without your phone so that you can just focus a little bit better, no distractions or whatever it is. And so spending time kind of, I would say, unplugged, no screens, whatever it is in your life, I would just say is a really, really important skill. I would say it's a skill because you can continue to get better at it as you continue on.
What would you say are the top 3 skills needed to be successful in female athlete sports?
I thought about this, and I'll jump in, and Natalie probably has some better words, but I think working out hard, you really have to bust it and work hard. Desire to improve, you have to figure out how you're going to get better every workout, or whether it's a stroke in swimming or a better time. And really passion for the sport. Are you really passionate for this sport? And there are a couple of situations now where, it's not necessarily good to focus on one sport when you're a certain age, because you want to really get the skills to be able to move and do things for the rest of your life. But if you're focusing on one sport, I think that those are really, really important, and definitely have passion for what you're doing. And if you lose that passion or you burn out of a sport, then you have to redirect and go to what makes you happy. And it may be several different sports, or maybe not sports, just being active.
Yeah, great points, Dr. Allen, I would say as well. And just to add to that point is, if you lose the passion for it, you're not going to work as hard, and then you're not going to be as your performance is going to suffer. So I would definitely say if you do lose that passion for it, and it can be anything, right? It doesn't have to be exactly just sports. But yeah, I would say for sure passion. But for me, it was more of like the confidence and self-belief, like to make sure that that when you walk out on the court, you've prepared, and that comes into what Dr. Ireland said is the working hard. And so that working hard is going to feed your confidence. And it's really that self-belief that you belong, you've put in the work, and really believing in yourself. And that's going to carry over so much further into your life than anything else will. It's just that self-belief in yourself, and the assurance that you can do that, and you put in the work. For me, it was also not to get, once you've put in the work and things like that, not to get complacent. And so continue to strive for that excellence and not settle for the good, right? And continue to push yourself and not just get, just settling for where you're at in the level that you've gotten to, but to continue to push yourself. And then the last one I always say is like, you got to be willing to look a little crazy or be a little crazy and view differently, and just to embrace that it's a gift, right? And so no one can like see the dream that you see that's inside of you, right? It's your vision, it's what's in your heart. And I would say like the willingness to be viewed and looked at as different. And wow, why is she going to the gym at 10 o'clock at night? It's a Friday, right? Where do you go out with your friends? And so you're going to always have those people in your life that are going to question you. And sometimes it's the people that are closest to you, right? Because they just want to love you and they don't want anything, bad to happen to you. But I would say it's just like that it factor of it's okay to be weird, it's okay to be different, and view that as a little crazy, because crazy people end up changing the world and doing those crazy things. So that's what I would say for sure.
I just make one other comment about being strong, because sometimes people view female athletes as, maybe being a little forceful or a little pushy or a little strong. And you can be strong in your attitude to win, and you're strong in your attitude to work out a lot. But strength is something that that'll fulfill you throughout the rest of your life. If you know you can do something, whether it's physical strength or mental strength, that's a very important thing. I think athletes get that from whether you're defending, going and working out instead of going out and partying. But being strong is a good thing for all of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you believe will be the biggest challenge for the next generation of female athletes behind you, and what advice would you give them?
Go ahead, Natalie.
I thought about this one, and I would say with everything everything's online nowadays, and it's all the social media, and I would say everything, the success, like it looks quicker than it is, right? It looks like everyone who's gotten to a level of success, and looks like they got there quickly. And so it's just, I would make sure that to understand that our young athletes understand that the success formula is still the same, right? It's putting in the hours, it's outworking everyone, it's all of the hours that nobody sees in order for you to be a female athlete and continue to push boundaries and all the things that we've talked about today on the call. And so just to not be distracted by what everyone sees, because what everybody puts on social media is the end product, right? And so it's so easy to compare yourself to them. And, oh, well, I don't know how they did that. There's no way I can do that. It's more of like, okay, well, they figured it out. It's like one of the favorite quotes is, it took them 17 years and to become an overnight success, right? And so it's just to understand that it's not a microwave. You can't, a lot of our generation, especially now, our young people, everything is so simple and instant. It's, Netflix, and all of a sudden you have a show. You don't have to go to the movies and pick out a time anymore. DoorDash or something, they can have a meal in an instant, right? And so it's just everything instant. It looks instant nowadays, but when it comes to success, it's you outwork everybody. I promise you, you will get really, really, really far.
Yeah, and I would agree. It's not through the media. It's not through apps. It's blood, sweat, and tears. And it's really, pumping the iron, doing the workouts, and you can't change that. And that's something that, not everybody is genetically as gifted, say, as a Michael Jordan or some other people. And so it's a combination of your genetics, but also more importantly, how hard you work and what you think you can do. So I guess the challenge that I would say, or the hard part's going to be, too much socialization and online, and not really getting out and doing the work, and maybe getting frustrated because you really have to get back. And if you're going to be a female athlete, particularly at the professional level, you got to work hard, and that's not going to change.
So in a way, though, it should reassure you that, if you're putting in the work, continue over a long enough time frame, you're going to outwork a lot of everybody else. And so if everyone's comparing themselves, it's almost like an advantage you have. If right, if you're putting in the work, you're going to get to where you want to go, rather than just continue to other people who may not really have that same perspective that you have and understand.
And that's kind of the way it is in school. You got to be able to have the skills to make good grades and, go into a major that you want to do. And it's not going to happen through an app or through a backdoor play. It's studying and hard work.
Absolutely.
This is our last question. When you were younger, did you have mentors or maybe coaches that impacted you? Did they teach you how to become a better leader or team player?
Go ahead, Natalie.
Absolutely. And I think when you're young as well, you're super impressionable into who is in that role for you. And I was grateful to have, a really, really good middle school coach who taught fundamentals, right? It wasn't all about winning, and we took our lumps, of course, as we did, but it was just, I was grateful to have somebody who instilled in us, right, going off the right foot and shooting with the right hand, right? It was, and as monotonous as it was sometimes, I was super grateful for it, because that is that foundation, right, that really propelled me. And just like with anything with athletics, it's the thing that the athletics builds is foundation. You can just grow and build up from that. So I'm really grateful for him. I remember that very early on. And then I would just say in high school, I remembered my high school coach telling me that I had the potential to become the best player to come out of our high school. And you know that it rubbed, and I just remember that word. It just stuck with me so much that I had the potential, that I wasn't where I wasn't where I wanted to be yet, or you know, he saw something in me, but it was all up to me pretty much at that point. So I'm so grateful that he didn't put me on a pedestal and, yeah, you're so good, right? He told me, look, you can get places, but you're not there yet today. Nope, not even close, right? So that made me work a lot harder to not, you know, to continue to work and prove him right.
Yeah, I think the coaches obviously, but I think our parents, I think they really instill right from wrong, and they gave me an opportunity to become an athlete. Not all parents would say, yeah, go swim and we're going to take you to swim meets and we're going to spend money and time. And I also learned from my teammates in swimming, their parents too, because sometimes I went with them. And so you end up with this kind of extended family, and you can see the way other families. I had one older sister who wasn't a swimmer, but you know, I think if you have siblings that are your same age, I think you learn from them. But I think a lot of it is parents, and they teach us you know, what's right and wrong, and how to do the right thing, and punished us for the wrong thing. And so I think you grow from there. And we just meet people, you know, sometimes it's teachers, but I just think there's just we look out for those people that we want to associate with and be like. And sometimes you never see when that person's going to be here, but you know it when you see him or her.
Well, thank you all so much, Dr. Ireland and Natalie, for sharing such great advice and your personal stories with us. Natalie, it was really great to connect with you again. And Haley and Olivia, you all did a fantastic job leading the conversation. So thank you all so much for that. Our next Unstoppable Women conversation will be on Tuesday, July 13th at 4 p.m. We have Pat Haight and Catherine Prather joining us, and they'll be speaking about travel and destinations. So thank you all so much for joining us again today. We will post this recording on our council Facebook page on Friday. So please feel free to share that with all of your friends. And thank you all, and have a great evening.
Congratulations, ladies. Good job.
Thank you guys. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.